This is Matthew Tallarini with World Baseball Network here at the 37th Annual Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame Dinner in New Orleans, Louisiana. Right beside me is 2009 National Champion head coach Paul Mainieri out of LSU. Paul, how does it feel to be here in New Orleans?
Well, New Orleans is the best city in America, Matt, so anytime I have an excuse to come back to New Orleans, I jump at the opportunity. But it's always a special evening for the American Italian Sports Hall of Fame because I'm very proud of my Italian heritage, number one. But secondly, they honor so many wonderful people. I'm here tonight specifically because I'm going to introduce Austin and Aaronola, the 2022, or I don't know if they call it 2022 or 23, but because of the 2022 season, the two brothers that played for me at LSU competed against each other in the Major League playoffs. And Aaron Nola won out and ended up pitching the World Series, but Austin Nola had a tremendous year. So I think it's very appropriate that both of them are being honored tonight.
And what was it like just coaching that year in 2009? I mean, you had a lot of adjustments with that infield, moving guys like DJ LeMahieu around and just building out the rotation with Anthony Renato. What was just what you guys had to amount to going into Omaha against tough teams like the Texas Longhorns?
Well, Matt, the biggest key to our season is this guy behind us, Austin Nola. He was a shortstop at that time. DJ LeMahieu had been our shortstop for 100 straight games. And Austin was a freshman, DJ was a sophomore, and I decided to replace DJ at shortstop with Austin Nola, move DJ to second base, and it created another domino effect of several other players. But I think putting Austin Nola in that year with just 16 games remaining in the regular season was really the key move because he solidified our defense. It's amazing that he's a catcher in the major leagues because he's the best shortstop I ever coached. And putting him in at short and LeMahieu at second base just gave us a tremendous infield. And I think that was a big part of the reason why we were able to go on and win the national championship. That team didn't have many flaws. We had really outstanding starting pitching, like you mentioned, with Anthony Renato and Lewis Coleman and Austin Ross. We had a good, solid bullpen with Matty Ott and others. But the key was just to upgrade our defense in the infield a little bit, and Austin was the one that stepped in and did that.
And what about last year with Ole Miss winning the national championship, Mike Bianco, and then he went to go on to coach the USA collegiate team out in Rotterdam for the Honkbal Harlem Week tournament. What is just the advice that you give to just pioneering our Italian-American circuit?
Well, Mike is a very proud Italian as well, and it starts with his father, and he passes it down to his son and then his grandson, Drew, who played for me at LSU. So I know they were very proud, and I was really happy for Mike, in all honesty. You know, he's had a great career at Ole Miss, but sometimes the fans aren't always satisfied, and they have to be satisfied now because he won it all. And then he, like I had it at one time, he had the honor of being the manager of the USA team. And he called me during the fall and asked me to talk to him a little bit about the experience. And I just told Mike it's the greatest experience that you can ever have, putting that USA jersey on over your head. And you'll have wonderful kids that'll play hard for you. And I know he really enjoyed that experience.
And you got to experience that in 2018 playing in Havana. What was it just like playing in that competition of all the international teams?
Matt, it was the greatest experience of my life, really, because first of all, the coaching staff that we had, my best friend in the world, Jim Hendry, who has been the general manager of the Chicago Cubs and has worked for the New York Yankees for the last decade or so, we coached high school baseball together. And when he left to go become the coach at Creighton University and took that team to the World Series, the local team, that was
a different ballpark.
Yeah, it was thrilling for me to watch my friend do that. And then, of course, I got to have that experience 6 other times, once at Notre Dame and 5 times with LSU. But the experience that summer of having Jim with me on the bench, Brian O'Connor was our pitching coach. Brian had been my pitching coach at Notre Dame, and of course, he's gone on to do great things at Virginia. Cliff Godwin was our hitting coach, who had been my hitting coach at both Notre Dame and LSU. He's now the head coach at East Carolina, doing a tremendous job. So to begin with, I had these great friends with us on a coaching staff, and then we were very selective in picking our team, and I spent a lot of time on the phone with each of them because I wanted to know what their intentions were. Were they doing it for own selfish reasons and exposure reasons, or were they doing it because of their pride that they have in being American citizens? And when the kids told me the right thing, I selected them. And we ended up having Josh Young was our third baseman. He's the starting third baseman for the Texas Rangers now. Bryson Stott was our shortstop. He's the starting shortstop for Philadelphia. Braden Shoemake from Texas A&M was our second baseman. He was a first-round draft choice as well. Andrew Vaughn was our first baseman, and he's a starting player for the White Sox now. And then we had two tremendous catchers, Adley Rushman and Shea Langoliers, who are starting for the Orioles and A's, respectively. And we had Spencer Torkelson on that team, who was a number one pick. So we had these awesome players, but every time you put that uniform on over your head and it said USA, it was just such a thrill that you couldn't help but be proud. And when we went, the Japanese team was really the biggest accomplishment for us. We beat them 3 out of 5. They had a tremendous team. And then when we went down to Havana, it was the first time that a USA team had beaten the Cuban team 3 straight times like we did. They beat us in the 4th game, but we won the series 3-1. So that was an amazing summer.
What's just the magnitude right now for USA Baseball? I mean, Mark DeRosa is about to lead that team to the World Baseball Classic in a month. What's just the front line that team can be really competitive in Phoenix and possibly go to Marlins Park, just to not only just shock the world, but defend turf on our soil?
Well, I know that Mark must be thrilled to be having that responsibility. And the players that play on that team, it's really a pride thing. And I'm looking forward to watching it. It's always great baseball, and people are representing whatever country they're from. When they're representing their own country, you get an effort out of them that they may not even give during a long major league season or minor league season. So every year that they have it, the World Classic ends up being great, exciting games, and it's must-watch TV.
Yeah, for sure. And now it's 20 teams, and we are seeing 5 teams from the WBSC Europe circuit make it. Just the future of our sport, where is it going to hold right now? We're going to see larger bases, and now a pitching clock's going to be enabled at the major league level than what we saw a few years in the minor league levels of affiliate baseball. What is it like to just see where the sport is going?
Listen, Matt, I think I'm a historian of baseball, and I'm old-fashioned. And a lot of people think that rules were never changed in baseball since Abner Doubleday threw the bases down, But that's actually not true, because several times they've made all kinds of changes. They used to count a base on balls as a base hit, for example. But that they figured out that 90 feet was the right distance. If it was 93 feet, everybody would be out. If it was 87 feet, everybody'd be safe.
Yeah.
They figured out that 60 feet 6 inches is the right distance. If it was 90 feet or 70 feet, pitchers would never strike anybody out. If it was 45 feet, nobody'd ever touch the ball. So baseball is such a wonderful game that they figured these things out, and I have confidence that some of the changes they're going to make now are going to be for the good of the game. Personally, I don't like the shifting, because it just takes away from the way the game was invented. Having a true shortstop, having a true second baseman, and I think you're going to see more offense in the game because of that. 10, 20 years ago, the major league batting average of that was like 271. This past year, it was like 239, and I think people want to see more offense. And I think the bigger bases will prevent some injuries, and I think that's good as well. So I'm anxious to see how it's all going to.
Yeah, we got pitchers and catchers, in a few weeks, and then upcoming games for the revamp also of certain WBC teams. But it's going to be a big test. I think a lot of fans are going to gain into the pitch clock. It's not going to be an issue, and I think it's only going to speed up the level of the game we love, for sure.
I agree totally with you. We've used the pitch clock in the Southeastern Conference for several years now, and you get used to it. And there's too much lollygagging, hitters stepping out and pitchers taking their time to throw the ball. And I think even with the clock and it being sped up, baseball is not going to lose that atmosphere that fans, aren't sitting on every inch of the game or every second of the game like they would in basketball, maybe, for example, where the action is up and down, up and down, up and down. So I think it's still going to be a family-style game where people aren't going to be rushed. But when we get to 3.5, 4-hour games for a 9-inning game, I think that's just too long and people lose interest. If we can keep the game to 2 hours and 30 minutes, I think a lot more people will be interested in the games.
Me as a Yankee fan, it's brutal watching Yankees Red Sox, and they're going at 4.5 hours on average. It's getting to the point where, baseball's not a time sport, but it's got to get going with with just the facilitation of it, and certain crew chiefs also, for sure.
I think it's just obvious that a lot of players aren't concerned about the tempo of the game. So much of it is look at me type of thing. I got to be up to the plate as long as I can for TV time or whatever. The pitchers are doing the same thing. So I think you have to put in rules to make players understand the importance of speeding it up a little bit. And I think people will enjoy the game a lot more.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, we're going to enjoy tonight with Austin Nola, and actually, Austin Nola. Aaron Nola won't be here tonight, but it'll be awesome just to see, a guy that went to Catholic high school, played for a preliminary varsity program in Louisiana, and played for the Zephyrs for a few years. Just what's it like to just seeing that pride he's just carrying with Bob Melvin in San Diego?
Well, I'll tell you what. I was very upset that Austin did not get to the big leagues with the Marlins, the original team that signed him, because I just thought he was a tremendous shortstop and all-around player, really. And then he converted to being a catcher in his 6th year with the Marlins, and then he got signed with Seattle as a minor league free agent, and he got to the big leagues as a catcher, and then he was part of a big trade going down to San Diego, and I think he's an integral part of their team. I don't know Bob Melvin, but I know he must love Austin Nola, because Austin is just a complete package, and he's a wonderful kid, and I just love him to death. I've been fortunate. I've had about 40 former players make it to the major leagues, but I've never been more happy for a single player than I was for Austin when he finally got called up to the big leagues 8 years into his professional baseball career. I just love him, and of course his little brother Aaron has done tremendous things with the Phillies now. And every time I see these guys as parents, I always say to them how mad I am at them that they would stop at 2 children. They couldn't field an entire lineup for me of 9 Nolas. I had Nola boys for 6 years, so when Aaron finished his career with us at LSU, I felt like I lost an arm, because I just didn't like coaching a team without a Nola boy on it.
Yeah, without a doubt. And it's good to see Anthony Renato now does a lot of collector memorabilia stuff, and the podcast he's been doing, you've been on a few times. What's it like to just give back to the former players that are doing media stuff now?
Well, I'm just so proud of all of our former players from LSU, as well as all my former players from previous stops, Notre Dame, the Air Force Academy, and St. Thomas. For example, I have 5 former players from the Air Force Academy. They're generals in the Air Force now. At Notre Dame, I have so many guys that are doctors and lawyers and so forth, and all these LSU players that played for me understand what it takes to be successful, and whatever walk of life they've chosen for themselves. Obviously, these guys have been able to be successful in baseball, but like Anthony Renato, he made it to the major leagues, but now he's in an entrepreneurial spirit, and he's trying to make a good living and do other things to help people. And I just think it's all part of what they learned when they went to college, and that's why I'm such an advocate of kids going to college before they go into professional baseball, because they grow up and become men. They might come to a university as a child or an adolescent, but they leave as men, because they understand now what it takes to be successful when they're challenged, and understand how to work as a team.
Yeah, for sure. And we got a lot of great recipients tonight here at the 37th Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame dinner. Very much honored and appreciated, and to be here for the 2nd straight year with coverage of World Baseball Network. Well, without any ado, my name is Matthew Tallarini from World Baseball Network. Here, right beside me, Paul Mainieri, 2009 head coach champion for Louisiana State University.